Welcome to the Hobby Jogger Podcast, where elite athletes and ham and eggers lace up their stories. We explore the common ground that running creates, from the world-class runner to the hobbyist hitting the pavement, trail, or treadmill. Expect a blend of inspiration, laughter, and the shared joy that makes every step count. Join us on this journey where every run is a story worth sharing. On today's episode of The Hobby Jogger, I am joined by co-host, the king of Ohio trails, back with me once again, Mr. Jeremy Pope. Jeremy, what's up, dude?
Not much. Happy to be back. Like to be on the other side of the mic here. I'm excited to talk to Caleb.
Absolutely. And Western States wait list, how's that going? I haven't looked at it lately.
We're just waiting. So
just waiting. That's all we can do. I like it.
It's slow moving. So.
Well, we do have a runner on today who will be competing in this year's Western States after winning a golden ticket at a race where he beat you and me. He maybe beat me by a good 7 or 8 hours. I don't know. I didn't really care to look at that. Hurt my ego a little bit. But today we were joined by Mr. Caleb Bowen. Caleb, what's up, dude?
Hey, how's it going, man?
Hey, doing well. You excited?
Yeah, real excited. I've been tracking your guys' podcast for a while now, and whenever you sent me the picture of Jim Walmsley last week, I was like, oh no, I don't want to follow that. But no, I'm really excited to be on and talk to you guys.
Well, we put you in the prime time spot. It's like being on after Cheers back in the day, People leave the TV on and tune in. So there you go. Now, as we just mentioned, you did get a golden ticket to Western States. Coming up here pretty soon. How are things going? How are things looking?
Yeah, it's coming up really quick. We have less than 10 weeks now, which is insane. But training's going well. It's getting a lot better. Track season for me, where I'm a cross country track coach, I can't do exactly what I want to do just because I'm traveling all the time. Pretty much every Thursday through Sunday, we're gone, at a track meet. The past 2 weeks have been in Virginia. Before then, we traveled to Florida, we traveled to North Carolina, pretty much all across the East Coast. So, it's a fun time to be able to explore, but it's just hard because you're governing, 50 to 70 athletes and making sure their needs are taken care of. So I try not to focus on my training too much. I'd love to be in 100 miles and a week and trying to get a lot more volume in, but I'm just trying to take it, day by day, and I'm still getting some decent volume, but it could be better. But I'm excited for the next 10 weeks because, track season will be winding down soon. And that gives me a little more opportunities to get out, go to some different places where I can train and, more trails, try to hit up some of the places I really love, like the New River Gorge, Davis, West Virginia, maybe even go to the Grindstone course, because that's the place I think getting a lot of good vert in is it's crucial. And that's a great place because everything's super runnable. So definitely excited for the next few weeks and going into Western.
Now, for your training for this, and good to hear that everything is going well so far. And yeah, having a job, that's tough. That's really the limiting factor, I think, for a lot of runners is having a full-time job, especially with you, with as busy as you are with now track season and, into cross, I'm sure recruiting is now the time, right? I mean, I don't.
Oh yeah. Recruiting never stops. It really picks up in the summertime, but we're trying to go out to as many high school track meets as possible. I was actually able to go up to the Canal Corridor course back in February, early March, to go to the indoor state meet because that's in Spire, Ohio. And just going to different meets. It's part of it. It's just part of the gig. It's what I signed up for. It's tough, but it's also really cool to be involved with the running community, especially in Huntington, West Virginia. But getting to see these young athletes grow in their journey, and this is kind of like a little tangent, but with it being close to graduation time right now, I have several athletes who they're not going to the conference meet, they're not going to nationals or anything like that, so they're ending their season soon. And a couple of them came up to me and told me that they were really excited to get on the trails, and they've been kind of waiting for this point because they've seen what we've done, me and the ultra running community in our area, and they just want to be a part of it. So just being a little small part of that is super exciting. Kind of makes me tear up a little bit. So I mean, it's just cool being a coach.
Dude, kudos to you, man. I mean, it's truly just you inspiring people, and I think you should be proud of that.
Yeah, I mean, I won't take credit for that. I mean, a little part of it, but like, I think I planted some seeds that have grown. Like, we have guys like Dan Green, Alex Miner, gals like Holly and Swan, and a few others in our area that have been huge. And they became these people that all these young kids look up to now. And just showing them like, hey, I got a golden ticket this past year. I have no doubt in my mind that now Dan Green thinks that he can do it too. Like, because he can beat me any day of the week. And Alex Miner, same deal. He just broke my course record at the Canal Trace 50K by like 10 minutes. So if I can get a golden ticket, he can go get a golden ticket. I just think it's going to be something that hopefully it catches on in our area. It's not like there's a lot of people in West Virginia that are known for being really good at ultra running, but I think it's a place where it can happen.
You guys got some tough trails down there. You got some great organizations. And I will put a bit of a caveat on the course record getting broke. He did it in April. I was down there last August.
You were, yeah.
It was one of the most miserable running experiences I've had. Not because of the race organization, first off, terrific. 10 out of 10 to them. Hats off. Nice little pre-race meal the night before at the campground. Everything was great. Course was very well marked. Even I couldn't take a wrong turn. But it was 85 degrees and 70-degree dew point, and it was hot, like wickedly hot down there. And I think, there's got to be some sort of, Strava has the gap adjustment. I think maybe we have like a heat index adjustment, maybe. I don't know.
We definitely need it. Yeah, we definitely need it. Yeah, I will say that it was a lot cooler this year. It started off in the 30s and maybe got into the 50s. So, yeah, caveat, yeah. But to be honest, like he still would have beat me, I think. Like if I would have raced him that day, because I ran with my dad. It was his 55th birthday, and just wanted to have a special kind of time with him. So me and him ran together, and it was really fun. But I did have a little bit of FOMO. Like I knew Alex was up there crushing it in the front, and I kind of wish I was doing that too. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure there'll be other opportunities in the future to go after it.
So you mentioned you ran that with your dad instead of racing. So like, why don't we talk about that? Tell us
sure.
a little more about that, like running with your dad.
It was two-part. So I have been dealing with a little bit of I wouldn't say injury, but like you had some SI joint issues and a hip flexor strain, and actually just found out that I had like a micro tear in my tendon, like in my hip flexor. So it wasn't smart to race anyway. Like the original plan was just to do the 50K, try to nail it, try to run as fast as possible. But I knew it wasn't like the best idea. So whenever me and my dad were talking about it, because he was going to run as well, I was like, Dad, why don't we just run together? Like it's been a long, long time since we've run, really even a normal run together. We had a really cool moment at Bandera where I struggled. It was a very rough day. And he was able to pace me for the last like 4 or 5 miles, maybe a little bit more than that. But really cool moment. So I really wanted to return the favor and pace him for the full thing. Since I was already signed up and he was signed up, so we agreed to run together. He had some pretty big goals. As always, A goal, B goal, C goal. And we went for the A goal. Like we went hard. We went to try to break 5 hours. And, maybe we were a little too aggressive because where it was so cool, we were able to get after it early on. And as, Casey probably knows the terrain of it because the last bit's somewhat similar to the 25K and 50K. The elevation gain is kind of bookended where you have a lot in the beginning and a lot in the end. So those last couple of hills really took a toll on him. But you know what? We had a good time.
But let's be honest. You kind of come by it honestly because your dad's kind of a beast.
He's kind of a beast. I mean, he's kind of the toughest guy I know. So
He is an
it's
absolute.
Charlie can
yeah, he
go.
can go. He can go. And sometimes I think he gets in his own head. Like he believes he's going to be in the race, and then all of a sudden something like a little minor thing will happen, and he'll start like doubting himself. I'm like, Dad, first off, you're a psychologist. You should be able to get over this, like with your mental Jedi powers.
That's
But two,
amazing.
like you're gritty, you're tough, and you train so well. Like trust in your training. There's this one point we had probably about 6 or 7 miles ago, and he claimed he lost his climbing legs. And I'm like, Dad, we do hard things, right? And he like looked at me. He's like, yeah, we do hard things. And he started picking it up, going up this one hill. I was like, hopefully that sticks with him and becomes a mantra, because like it's what I see in him every day. That's what gets me to run. Like I want to be just like Dad, and if I can get him to push through a hard time, then I think it makes it worth it.
That's awesome, man.
I know Charlie has a goal of, and Charlie is your father for those
Yeah.
listening. I know he has the goal of running 100 miles this year. So, I text him all the time. Met him at the Canal Corridor. I text him. So I'll text him after this and see. I know we're talking about Javelina, possibly Canal. So we're going to get him out there, him and I, for 100 miles. So that'll be pretty cool.
Oh yeah, I'm excited for that.
All right, yeah, because Canal would be perfect. There's plenty of cruise spots for it. Having set the course record there.
Yeah.
Canal's a good one. Canal's a good one, I think, for him. So that's cool. You guys, make running a family thing. That's one thing we've noticed here is people that either have a significant other or, family that really supports them. It seems to really coincide with their performance. I know Jeremy, Holly's awesome. She travels all over with you, the girls, and certainly makes a difference because you'll read stuff on the internet like, oh, my wife hates that I run these, and it's a detriment to our relationship and stuff. But if that's your hobby, if that's your passion, yeah, it's awesome to have support like that. So bravo to Charlie.
Crusher. He's an absolute legend. Love
And,
it.
and the nicest guy ever.
Ever. I mean, truly.
I just think it's so cool how we all kind of met at a race. Like me and Jeremy met at Thunder Buddy, but like after that, I had no clue who Casey was. But whenever I finished Canal Corridor, we started talking like we knew each other for years.
Yeah.
And part of that's because you guys, your dad, Jeremy and Casey all kind of like got up together and, talked a lot, while crewing me. But like, I had no clue who Casey was, but like when we were talking, it just felt normal. Like, it felt like he was part of the family, part of the crew. And same thing for Jeremy, same thing for Arlen. Like, I know my parents talk about it all the time where they went to dinner with Arlen and just fell in love with him. Like, like he was just telling some of the most bizarre stories that I don't know. I don't even remember what the story was, but it just made him laugh a lot.
It's the craziest thing, though, that's ultras, right? People just hang around at aid stations. They chit chat with one another, and they're best friends afterwards. Like it's a really cool thing.
Yeah, and like to me, you and me, Jeremy, like I just loved being able to hear your story because that was like what I was looking forward to the whole time. Like, I kind of not Arlen was amazing. He did a great job pacing me, but like I was definitely ready to pass the torch to you, because I'd already heard everything about Garland, and so I was
Yeah.
ready just to get Jeremy, and like I didn't even know we were at the same Boston Marathon 2018. Like we had a connection there that was already kind of built, and then just hearing how you overcame, like, yeah, your story of how you started running, like that's a cool story, and it got my mind off of everything. I just was so involved with your story that all of a sudden he had like 12 miles to go, and Jacob Moss was right ahead. We could see him, and we all started trying to catch him. It just at the end of that race, I just felt like I had a family up in Akron.
That's awesome, man. Just like the Canal Corridor it's a unique race, man. I really, really like it. And man, running those miles with you, that was the time of my life. It really was. You were absolutely crushing. And like I truly couldn't even believe, at the end of an ultra that somebody still had that power, man. It was something special to watch. It really was.
Was it pretty surprising that you guys like saw me and Holly Ann come up instead of Jacob? Because like the
Oh,
last time I saw you, he was still well ahead. Like,
Hey, folks, if you're loving the stories, tips, and laughs we're dishing out, make sure you don't miss an episode. Hit that subscribe button so you're the first to know when a new episode drops. And hey, if you've got a second, why not leave us a review? Your feedback helps us improve and keeps this running community growing. Lace up, hit subscribe, and let's get back into the show. Yeah, I mean, so I know the course is a mile behind me over my shoulder, and I run it all the time. So I know like the real splits of what, the actual like down to like 100 feet mileage. And I was sitting there figuring it out with Annie, and I was like, man, like he's catching them, but like he's got to do some work here in the last, we have about a mile and a half left. I was like, he's going to really have to put in a big one. So standing there at the finish line, I was like, I hats off to him for giving it all. And then you came across, and wouldn't say I was surprised, but it was a huge effort. The last, probably I'd say your last 5 miles split had to be pretty quick compared to any other 5K in the race.
the last 2 miles, yeah. Because like actually, I think my slowest mile was probably with 4 or 5 to go because it's getting dark and I didn't have a light with me, and I don't know, everything was just shutting down. And I was to be honest, I was very content with getting second. I was like, dude, we're running fast. I'm gonna have a really fast PR. Like this is awesome. I kind of just want to coast it in and enjoy it. And then Holly Ann kept saying, she's like, you're going to be upset with yourself if you just settle a second. I'm like, no, I don't think so. I think I'm going to be pretty happy with it. But she kept saying that over and over again. And then you probably know exactly where it's at. It's like where the trail connects into, like, there's this little hill and it's almost like a tunnel where there's like lights. And I think there's a maybe interstate or a road that goes over like the tunnel, like over the tunnel. And you come out on the road and then you're on the road for like a little bit. And that's the point where we saw his white shirt at the top. And he was stopped. And I was like, oh, no. First off, this is a race now. And then two, I was like, I don't want to pass him if he's stopped. Like, I was thinking he was stopped for a car or something. And I just didn't think that was right. But then the closer we got, he was just tired. I mean, maybe he was cramping or something. But, at that point, he saw us and he started running again. And Holly Ann made a very decisive move where she sprinted up to catch him, and I just followed. And then she passed him. Like we didn't stay with him very long. She passed him and then started talking to him, like, "Hey, Jacob, you're doing awesome, great job." And then he like mentally broke. I think if he's listening, I'm sorry. I don't mean to rehash that, but like there's something about it where she said something, he broke, and then we took off. And it felt like we were running 4-minute miles, but in reality, it's like 6 minutes, I think. But still, 6 minutes at the end of a ultra is pretty quick. And I don't know, big boost of energy with that. And then coming on like with maybe a quarter mile to go, you could see like basically you'd see the finish line. You had like that left hand turn, and you were right there. And that's where I saw Jeffrey. Is it Benatti, the guy right there who makes those maps? Like
yep.
I saw him there, and he like was screaming, he was yelling, like cheering, and it got me pretty fired up. So I don't know, it was just cool.
And that is the only hill on the course.
The only hill on the course. Yeah.
Up and down. That is it. That is the one. There's a couple little undulations here and there, but yeah, that was such a cool thing. I mean, to run 100 miles and what was it? You're separated by a minute.
Yeah, it was about a minute or two. Yeah,
a minute or two, somewhere in between there. And that was crazy. That was one of the cooler moments I've got to witness in ultra running, actually live and in person, was that finish there.
It was just as cool as could be being there too, running those miles with you. And you were so consistent. Everything was just bam, bam, bam. And then, I hop out. So Holly Ann hops in, and then just, we headed straight to the finish. And it's like, who's going to get here? It's going to be quick. Let's see who comes around the corner. And I remember we could see lights and we didn't quite know who it was. It was hard to see, but then it's like, it's Caleb. What the? But that was awesome.
Of course, with beers in hand, because it does end at Missing Falls Brewery, top-notch brewery here in Akron, Ohio. So if you're ever in town, check them out.
Very good. Yeah.
Shout out. And
Always good for a 100-miler to finish at a brewery. I think that's
always.
Yeah. They do open up at 5 a.m. too, back for the runners. So that's good.
Yeah.
But one thing I noticed with that, Caleb, your strategy, you never really seemed to press. You kind of did your own thing. You didn't get caught up, because that's his specialty, is running long, flat races, correct? The young man, I forget his name. Jacob.
Oh, Jacob? Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's a 24-hour guy. Like, he loves those grueling, 24, 48-hour track races where you're just grinding it out. I didn't really know much about him until like a couple days before. I was like kind of looking through the entrant list I saw him, and I was like, well, he's probably going to be the guy to beat, because he ran Tunnel Hill and he ran like 12:50, I think. And then I saw he had qualified for USA team, for the 24-hour team. I was like, well, that means he's tough, because anybody who can run a track for 24 hours is not a guy I want to mess with. So, and then like at the beginning of the race, he took off like a bat out of hell. And I remember talking to a few guys. They're like, oh, shoot, I think he's going for the American record. I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to ignore that, because if he gets it, that's awesome. Like, I want to be part of a race where a guy gets the American record. But I've never done a flat 100 before. Like, I mean, Rim to River is not mountainous by any means, but it's definitely hillier. It has like 12,000 feet elevation gain. So I've never done, this is out of my element. So I'm just going to try to control what I can and eat as much as I can, hydrate well, and just focus on what I feel like and just go from there. I mean, yeah, I had a goal, and I had like a time goal and everything, but I did not know what to expect at all. And that's kind of how I feel about Western States as well. I mean, 18,000 feet elevation gain, but a ton of loss, somewhat at altitude. Like, there's a lot of factors in this one that's going to be out of my element. So it's going to be a cool little learning experience, like, for Western. And that's how I get really excited about it, because I mean, there's definitely a lot of pressure just that I put on myself. But then again, like, it's the first time doing it. So why put pressure on yourself? Just go out, have fun, and see what happens. And that's what I did at Canal Corridor, and it definitely worked out. But definitely didn't like know it was going to end up like that, because like I tried to catch him for the last 50 miles, or maybe even more than that, and like I didn't feel like we were making any ground up at all. And where it's a double out and back, I could see where he was whenever he'd turn around and face me. So I mean, me and Jeremy did a pretty good job of like counting whenever we passed him how far he was ahead and stuff, but like still didn't know. And I remember like just joking with Jeremy, like every single person that we passed said that he's right up there ahead of us. I'm like, no, he's not, because we can't see him. And you've been saying that for the past like 2 hours. He's not there.
You have a lot of composure for a runner, because there's guys that and girls that get caught up in the beginning, the start. I mean, I'm in the middle of the pack, and I see people do it all the time. Just the middle of the Packers, back of the Packers, front of the Packers, just go out and blow up. And man, hats off to you for that composure, because you sat in and just worked all day and didn't really let him dictate to you what was going to happen. So hopefully you do that there at Western States and get a good result out of it. I think you will. One thing I wanted to ask you, Caleb, your coaching career, we've mentioned that you had a runner qualify for nationals for the first time in Marshall history, correct? Cross country?
Yeah. So we've had a couple men qualify, but she was the first female athlete to qualify for the national championship. Yeah.
Shout out Abby Herring.
Shout out Abby Herring. She's the GOAT, man. She's so much fun.
Yeah, I had a fun time. I follow you on Instagram, and just watching that was pretty cool. I ended up watching the finals, and yeah, awesome for her. Does she have a future in ultra running, you think?
It wouldn't surprise me at all. So she's actually already got her first marathon planned after season's over. She went, her and her friend group, they actually, a lot of them graduated last year and they all want to do Boston. So she's trying to get a qualifying time for Boston in June. And then she really wants to hit Columbus pretty hard. Like she wants to actually race Columbus. So I'm gonna be training her for that. But you know how I do it. I'm just going to gradually just, introduce the idea of trails, little by little, and who knows. After she qualifies for the trials, she may want to pick up the Black Canyon Bug or something.
Hey, yeah, she'd be a killer. What was her 5K PR?
So indoors, she's run 16:06 for the 5,000. She ran a 33:08 10K back in late March. So that's kind of what we're looking at right now is the 10K. I mean, she's great at the 5. Actually pretty good at the 1,500 as well. But we're going to really focus on the 10 and hopefully she can mess around and win conference again. And then she's already qualified for the first round of nationals for outdoor track for the 10K. It's in Lexington, Kentucky. If she's in the top 12 there, she'll go to Eugene, Oregon. So we're going to do everything we can to get her there.
Yeah, good for her and good for you being such a good influence on the team. And we wish you the best in that for sure. And hopefully things can go well down there in West Virginia for you and keep the Thundering Herd going in the right direction.
I hope so. Yeah, it's been a fun ride, I will say, for the last 8 years. It's been fun. And I think the best part about my job, besides like being able to prod them along in the right direction, is like I get to run with some really talented kids, like really talented athletes. Like I said, it's kind of it's a curse where I'm kind of locked into a schedule where I can't run Gordon Waterfalls this year because I have a track meet, or I can't run Black Canyon or whatever. But like I get to run with some awesome athletes and it makes me better. And yeah, I'm able, sometimes I do the workouts with them. A lot of times I don't, just because I feel like if I run a workout with a group, I'm neglecting the rest of the groups. And usually my workouts, I have like 3, 4, 5 different groups going on. So it's hard for me to like pick and choose one over the other. But whenever I am able to run workouts with the kids, like it's a lot of fun. And they get kind of hyped for it, especially with the men's team. Like they don't want to get beat by me. And I do everything I can to stay with them. So, they're a lot faster than I am, but I'm definitely grittier. So like I try to really push the pace, even if it's not like the design pace I want them to go. Like I want them to be tough and I want them to compete. So I'll like put surges on them at different points when they're not expecting it and try to get them to go with me. And a lot of times they blow me out of the water at the end, but a lot of times, like other times, it's I make it honest. So it's fun.
Yeah,
and then run with Abby too. Goodness, like I don't need to really slow. I don't slow down at all. Actually, I just try to hang on for your dear life. But run with her.
I imagine there's not too many coaches, out in college that are running ultras and at least successfully as you have with, Grindstone, Canal Corridor, Gorges. So it's also going to be a pretty unique recruiting tool, I imagine. Like, hey, here's my coach. He's still out here doing it. He's done these things at these races. If I was a kid, I'd look at that and be pretty,
Yeah, I don't know if it works or not, but like our director of track and field, he definitely brings it up a lot. And he's like, "Did you guys know that he got a golden ticket?" I'm like, "They don't know what that means, man. Like, it doesn't matter. Let's stop talking about it." And then he'll bring up the documentary Into the Well a lot. I'm like, guys, like, let's just let him get on the team first, and then we can bring that up.
Yeah. Casey, have you watched that thing?
Yeah, I did. I watched it today. That was very well done documentary. I mean, that was a legit, full production. It wasn't just like shot on someone's iPhone. And
Oh yeah, like that whole story was pretty cool. The way it all came out, like this is 2020, so the world shut down and everything, and like Rim to River was like the only race that hadn't like got canceled yet, and we were just waiting for it to get canceled. And I remember getting an email about like we were doing wave starts, and I was in the first wave. But I remember Holly Ann wasn't. She was where it was based off ultra sign up scores. She had a 0 because she had never run ultra before. So I just reached out to the race director, Bryant Baker, and I was like, "Hey man, like I got an athlete who's running the race and she wants to compete to win. It'd be really cool if you could move her up to like the first couple of waves so she has a chance to actually, do well rather than trying to pass people the whole day. And he's like, "Oh, dude, that's awesome. Like, do you think she'd be part of a documentary?" And I was like, "I mean, I'm sure she would. I'll ask, but I'm sure." Now, like thinking to myself, like, I mean, I want to be part of a documentary. Like, I think it'd be cool, but whatever. So they got in connection and everything, and Anthony, the film director, did some photo shoots with her and stuff early on. And I happened just to be there. Like, I heard that they were filming, and I just like kind of like showed up and was like kind of weird in the background. And Holly Ann kind of convinced them to start like interviewing me, and then they're like, "Oh, this is cool. Like, and maybe we'll put him in the documentary as well." And it kind of worked out to the cool story where you know they followed me around.
Yeah, no, it was really cool story just from a personal point and the race point. It really combined both elements pretty well. Talking about interviewing you and Holly Ann throughout the day and beforehand. But yeah, the quality was good. Yeah, COVID had shut down because Annie came downstairs when I was watching it. She's like, "Why do they have masks on?" It's like, "Yeah, it was like 2020 when this thing happened." Like,
Yeah, it seems like a lifetime ago. That's for sure. But something else that's kind of funny is like some of the pre-race stuff, like the interviews. You could just tell we're so naive and like we didn't know what we were doing at all. Like there's this point where Holly Ann says something like, "Yeah, like no one knows how to train for a 100-mile race." And now we laugh about it because like yeah, there's a lot of people that know how to train for a 100-mile race. Actually, it's pretty common, but we had no clue. I don't know. There's just a lot of stuff it makes us laugh because we just didn't know what we were doing, and we just went out there and wung it, and fell in love with it, which is cool. It's a cool story that we like. Obviously went back and she won the female title, was fourth overall the next year, and then like me like being able to race my pacer Dan was so cool next year. Like we had a really good race that year.
yeah, and you guys are doing a lot down there in the ultra world. That the group that put it on, Rim to River, you guys have a number of races. It looks like, because I was looking it up before with David, and like 9-10 ultras, Highland Sky. I know that's a favorite around here.
Oh yeah,
going down to Highland Sky. You've won that how many times?
so I was top 5 a lot of times. I think I've only won it twice though, past 2 years.
Caleb, so it's 2 weeks before Western. I know you were on AJW's podcast and you guys were talking about it, and he's like, "Come on, man."
He got me really thinking about it. That's for sure. But I talked to Bob Luther, who's the race director for Canales Trace 50K, and he's also doing Western this year. He got in through the lottery. It's not a good idea. I just something would happen, and I'd probably turn my ankle or I don't know, fall, and I would hate to like not be able to run Western because I did something stupid 2 weeks before. Now I did, talking to AJW, I'm like, well, I mean, technically you could trip and fall outside your door or like going down the stairs. So like, you shouldn't live life like that. But I'm gonna try to be smart and not do it. Although it's tough because Dan's doing it this year, Dan Green.
I think you're smart.
I know.
Normally I'd say send it and do it, but I mean, I'm going to have you in my free trail top 10. So I need you in top condition for this,
Yeah, you got a lot of money making on that. That's for sure.
Well, I didn't know if you know this or not, but I did win the UTMB free trail fantasy contest. I don't know.
Did you really?
Yeah, I was number 1.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I put a lot of pride into it. Jeremy knows that.
I do know that. I've heard this a few times. This is Casey's claim to fame right here.
That's it. That's what I got. Yep.
I mean, that's a Catalina wine mixer of it all. Like that's the best one to get.
I mean, was it head to toe Hoka outfit?
Yeah, I got head to toe.
Did you really?
Yeah.
And 364 days of bragging.
Oh yeah.
You think it's only going to be 364? we're getting years out of this. Years. For sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's more impressive, winning the thing or winning the UTMB free trail fantasy.
Be serious. One thing I did see here on Caleb's Ultra sign up is this Javelina 100 miler,
Oh
October
yeah,
26th.
yeah, I'm
Signed
excited,
up.
man. So yeah, watching Dan just crush it last year, getting fourth, like it really, like I was at our conference championship, and I'm not going to say that I was watching that over my own, like the kids, but like I kept checking periodically throughout the meet, and then we actually had to go to the hospital, unfortunately, for dehydration and overheating. So I'm like in the hospital waiting room, just watching Dan, like on the third loop. I think I'm just like cheering him on while waiting in the hospital. So like it just seems so much fun. And yeah, I'm not like a super mountain guy. Like UTMB, Hard Rock, those races seem a lot of fun, but like it probably doesn't fit my like what I'm strong at. But Javelina kind of does. Like I don't know about running in the desert a whole lot, but like just the setup, the kind of low elevation where it's just a runner's race where you just run hard the whole time, try to make some really good chest moves. The whole like I think that's going to be a lot of fun. So that's kind of like that's the A race besides Western on my year is Javelina. Although I'm really sad to not do Grindstone because like Grindstone became a race where I mean Jeremy knows I ran the course a lot that summer, so I knew pretty much every corner of that course. And the last finishing touches were what 3 weeks before the race where we went up and finished it, me and Jeremy, which was crucial. Like it helped a ton, I think, going into the race. But I love Virginia. I love everything about that course. I think it's a race I really want to do again. But then again, like you got to do some different stuff too. Like you can't just go back to the same races over and over again. So kind of taking a leap of faith and doing the Javelina this year.
Yeah, and the grindstone was another one. Certainly not good conditions for you guys out there. Well, me either. I did run that. Well, I moseyed around the course for a while, but I got it completed, so I was happy. But that was a brutal day. Like that was driving rain. There wasn't any sleet because it didn't get quite that cold, but it was. That's what I would think of would be your strong suit, Caleb. Like running in like shit like that, because you're Appalachian. I'm from basically the Appalachians. That's like kind of the weather we get is
Yeah.
That just crappy, shitty. Maybe not hurricane. Maybe we don't need the hurricane remnants. But yeah, that's what I thought you would have told us. Is that's what you look forward to is mountain stuff.
Okay. Well, let's talk about Grindstone for a second. So, Jeremy, correct me if I'm wrong. Did you like? I mean, I thought that the weather was actually really good the whole time for the 100K.
I thought it was spot on. Like
It was
I
the
could not
best
imagine.
scenario. Like, okay, so going into the race, I prepared for it to be hot, humid, and just miserable. That's what I was expecting for the race. And I do think like that would have changed things. Like the people that did really well, especially from they're from like the mountain west side of the country who did well. I just think they would have struggled a lot had it been normal. If it was humid like normal, Virginia is not a very accommodating place in terms of humidity. But where that hurricane came in, it was nice. Like I think the 100 milers got the worst of it because a lot of the wind and the rain was like that night beforehand and that night after. So like if you were finishing in the night and starting in the night, like I think that was so much worse.
Casey, you didn't think so?
So this is the Hobby Jogger podcast, and I will say that there is a stark difference in what we thought was ideal conditions at the back of the pack to these two who are in the front of the pack. I've never been so cold. David, our producer here, had to give me the shirt off of his back because I was out of dry clothes.
Literally.
My legs were shot. I was freezing cold. I was shivering. I think I was blue. I saw a gentleman fall in a creek. I was unable to help him. That was too bad. But yeah, I was. Now you had already been like, you probably had 4 or 5 beers by the time I finished and taken a nap, Caleb. So, well, I know Jeremy got to go to like McDonald's or something. So yeah, you had eaten, and vastly different experience in the middle to back of pack, right? I will say. But I did finish, I did persevere, and I got across the finish line when a lot of people did drop out that day.
A lot of people did.
There was a lot of drops. It was not easy. However, I do agree with you where the guys from out west would have definitely struggled in the Virginia heat had it been one of those like warmer, sunnier Virginia days, because they're not used to that humidity that Virginia gets down there, because it's pretty much like a swamp area, all of that side of the mountains of Virginia. So I think I could be wrong. Someone will fact check me and it's not a swamp. Yeah. So, but yeah, I agree with you. The heat probably would have favored you guys. I know Jeremy runs up. I mean, he Burning River. He's the king of the Burning River 50 miler.
He is. Yeah.
Which is at the end of July, and it can be just scorching hot out here that day. So yeah, I would agree with that assessment of it.
I just like conditions. Conditions are great. I love it. Make it nasty, dirty, sticky.
Well, you're a mudder.
Definitely sticky.
Yeah. Jeremy likes the mud.
I have to deal with the mud more so.
Yeah, but you enjoy it.
A little bit.
It's a great equalizer. Mud is a great equalizer, I think.
It is, that's for sure. See, that's the thing too. Back to grindstone, like it rained a lot, but you couldn't tell on the course. Like it wasn't muddy. It was just, I mean, the rocks, I don't know, the drainage system on that trail was really good, because there was not a point in the race where it's muddy, except for maybe like the dirt roads. But footing was awesome the whole day. I mean, I fell, but like that's going to happen. I don't know. I just thought that everything was super runnable. I kind of expected it to be a lot worse whenever I saw the forecast and saw how the rain was supposed to be really bad and the wind and everything, but it definitely wasn't, and it made for a pretty competitive, like actually running race, which I thought was good.
Yeah, and I agree with you. It was not muddy at all for it having rained that much. There was, Jeremy, what do you think there was any mud? I don't even remember there being mud.
I honestly, no. I mean, it's also so rocky, and then there's some of it's mountain bike trail, so they do a good job of maintaining it for sure. I don't remember any mud really. It was slippery on the rocks, but not too bad. Like Caleb said, gravel roads were just kind of goopy. I don't even know.
Gravel roads. I mean, there was gravel roads, I guess, but yeah, no, I agree with that. I guess I never really thought of that. Yeah, no mud, and yeah, I mean, hey, you got a golden ticket out of it, Caleb. So
yeah, so whoever it was worth it.
You're on to the big show here, so that's what it was all about. You and another Caleb won, correct?
He did, yeah, Caleb Olson. So that was a fun experience, like racing another Caleb, because I mean, I don't feel like that's a common name, but I mean, having two people in the same race. So we actually met during the race about, to say, mile maybe 6 or 7. We were on the ridgeline about to come down, that like the very first ridgeline coming down, and I had just gotten dropped by the main pack because it was that awkward time where the sun's rising, but it's still dark outside, so I couldn't really see very well. And like you didn't really need a light, but you kept the light on, and it's a little bit rocky in that section. So I like slowed down, and the pack went out. Justin, David Roche, Jeff. I can't say the last name. There's a lot of pretty good guys in there. So they all take off, and I'm kind of like, oh, that sucks. Like I'm by myself. Let's just get down the hill, see what happens. And as we're going down the hill, a guy came up behind me. He's like, "Hey man, how you doing?" I'm like, "Doing pretty good." And we started talking, and he asked what my name was, and I said Caleb. And he's like, "Oh, that's cool." And I was like, "Yeah, it's kind of cool because there's another Caleb in this race, Caleb Olson somewhere. I think he's up ahead." And he's like, "No, he's not." And I turn over and it's him. Like he's right behind me. So that was cool to kind of meet him. And then he took off. He passed me going down the hill, but we actually reconnected back. Actually, Jeremy, do you remember where we started our little trail weekend? That like aid station area?
Yep, down at the bottom.
Yeah, we met going up that hill again. Me and him connected into the lead pack going up that hill, which was pretty cool. And we ran with them going down that really steep section, down back to the road, which I was really impressed with because I'm not a downhill runner, very like a really good downhill runner. But I was able to like kind of open up a gap on all those guys, which was really weird. Funny enough, I actually took a wrong turn at the bottom of that hill on the road because they had that little makeshift aid station there, and it was leading like away from the right direction. I like got some water and I started going the wrong way. And if it wasn't for Caleb Olson, I'd probably still be in Harrisonburg right now because I was running that direction. And he's the one that called me over. That kind of spooked me because I don't like letting people put a gap on me just because I'm stupid and went the wrong direction. So I put a good surge in and passed everybody, kind of because I was embarrassed. I didn't want to talk about me going the wrong way. At the time, I thought I was in third place because I could see a guy up ahead, and I thought Justin Grunewald was ahead of everybody. I don't know why I thought that because I guess he wasn't, but in my mind, I was in third. We go through the North River Gap aid station, and then we start onto the Wild Oak Trail, and I finally passed Drew McCumber, who was in second, around the 50K mark, maybe a little bit before. After I came off that hill, the next aid station told me I was winning, and I was like, "No, I'm not. Like I'm in second. Like Justin Grunewald's ahead of me." He's like, "Well, you're the first person I've seen, so if you're not in first, something went wrong." I was like, "Oh shoot, I'm leading a golden ticket race. That's scary." But it's also really kind of like I kept an even keeled mind about it because in my mind I was like, "Hey, even if I don't win, I led this thing at one point, and it wasn't like I led it in the very beginning. Like I led it in the middle. Like that means something to me. Like I did something right."
Caleb, in that moment, like, but did you have a little bit of comfort knowing what was coming? Like, because you knew that course like the back of your hand at that point, right? Like you knew, I know what I've bit off. I know what I got to chew here.
So yeah, exactly. And at that point, we were on the road section for what's 4 miles, I think, and that's a tough section because you're slowly going uphill, but you can't really tell. But you just notice that your splits are going slower. And I remembered that. I was like, okay, don't worry about it. Like it's just going to happen. Like because I remember when we were out there running, there was a bike race going on. I just remember it being really tough, and I knew like yeah, it definitely helped. And the crux of the race is that next climb, the 3 miles straight up the mountain. So I knew exactly what to expect. Yeah, going into that aid station, I knew what I needed to do. I got really hyped because do you know Rachel Lemke? Her husband Logan, plus my crew, Chris, Holly Ann, my parents, Lindsay, like everybody there was like they were firing me up because I was in the lead, but also like Logan, he like got in my face. He's like, "Dude, you are an East Coaster on an East Coast race. You got to do this for us, man. Like this is your time. All these West Coasters think they're so cool. They're going to come out here and dominate. This is your time. Go put it on there." And I ran out of there without like even getting some of the stuff I needed. I was like, "Let's go." And I was like going up the hill. I was like, "Oh shoot, maybe I should have like waited a little bit." And the scary thing was though, is as I was going up the climb, I heard second place come in. And I had a feeling it was Caleb Olson. I don't know why. I just had a feeling that it was him. So I tried everything possible to run up that whole section. Didn't happen. I had to walk a few times because like at that point, you're mile 40 something. And yeah, I may have gone a little too hard whenever I got excited there on the road section because I lost a lot of energy going up that hill. But then as I was coming down, that's a pretty steep 7 mile section downhill. And I ran that faster than I've ever had before. I'd run that thing probably 5 times in training. Felt really good, but I could tell that somebody was right behind me. I could hear people or somebody running above me. And that kind of freaked me out. I definitely maybe run faster, but I just knew I was getting like hawked down and I was going as fast as possible. So finally going to that aid station, I was just relieved I was done descending because like a 7 mile descent is pretty tough for me at least. Get in and it really wasn't that long. I think it's about maybe 30 seconds. And all of a sudden, like I didn't even hear him come, but like Caleb had come and left. Like he didn't take any time at all. I like look over him, like I see him leaving. I'm like, oh shoot, I didn't know. So that was the point in the race where I finally asked my dad the question, how far back is third place? And he's like, I'm not going to tell you. I'm like, Dad, I need to know. Like, I just need to know. Well, at the last aid station, he was like 10 minutes off. I'm like, okay, that's all I need to know. I got a bubble. And at that point, I was trying to catch Caleb because he kept looking back and I kept trying to like make a move on that road section. But I knew there was a climb coming up and I did not think I was going to be able to do it very well. And sure enough, he put it on me up that climb. Yeah. After that, the rest of the race was just me like trying not to blow up because I knew like if I had to climb anymore, it probably wasn't going to go well. But I knew there wasn't much left. It was all like road and downhill sections. We finally get to the last little road, and I'm pretty sure like some of the Salt Lake crew were driving in a car, and they had like whipped it around after they passed me, and then they like slowly pulled up, and they're like, "Dude, you're going to get a golden ticket, man." I was like, "I'm not there yet. Like, we have 2 more miles left. Don't say that yet." And they just like screamed, "Woo!" and then flew off. I was like, "Okay, well, that's cool." And yeah, Travis Longcar followed me to the finish, and that was pretty cool. That's Grindstone in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's an awesome story. I appreciate you because I've never talked to you about it or heard that. So that's awesome. Just what it takes to go out there and win one because it was a tough race. I mean, there was a lot of guys who could go in that thing.
Yeah.
One thing before we go, Caleb, I want to ask you, what's our strategy for Western States? What are we looking at here? This is the big one. This is what we just had the Grindstone story. What's our projection? What do you think we're going to do?
Goodness, I wish I could tell you. Like, I think the main thing is like I've had the most success whenever I don't really worry about everybody else. So I'm going to be completely honest. I'm not going to check all the single track podcasts and the preview shows or anything like that because it gets in my head a lot, and it shouldn't. I know it shouldn't. Heck, I'm my coach. I know how negative that could be, but for some reason I eat it up and like I just dwell on it too much. So like before Grindstone, I didn't look up who was in the race. I didn't know anybody or anything. I remember one time I opened up Twitter and they finally found like some like race entry list. And I like completely just didn't. I didn't want to see it. So I just exited off and just went about my day.
But to be honest, let's be honest, UTMB didn't really
They didn't do a good job, which was great. Like it worked out in my favor. And to be honest, I'm kind of mad, but also happy that they didn't cover it at all. Like it'd been cool to have like an Aravaipa type live stream. Looking back on it being really cool, but like going into it, I'm glad it didn't because I would have eaten it up too much. I think I was just trying to avoid comparison and all that. So if I can do that at Western, it's going to help a lot. I'm really dumb. I'll go out with the leaders. Like, I mean, that's part of the experience.
You're not. You've ran too many races too smart. I'm not gonna let you say that because you're not.
Okay.
Yeah, you're not. I put you more of the cerebral runner that like Grindstone. You couldn't see. Hey, we'll catch you guys.
Yeah,
later.
that's true.
Like
That's
type.
true.
You've run a lot of races very, very smart. So
I guess I do know like where my limit is, and I know where that red line is pretty well. So yeah, I guess so. If I can feel that red line going up the first climb, and I'm like not way over my head, like yeah, I'm gonna go out and I want to be in contact with like the main group because obviously the goal is to get top 10. I want to come back. I want to be experienced, have the full experience of the first time, and then come back and try to capitalize on it. It may not happen. May have to, try to come back again a different way, but the main thing is just trying to keep cool and collected. Don't worry about anybody else. Heck, if you're 20th place at the 20-mile marker, like that's fine. Just let it happen. Focus on you. And then try to manage the stuff you can't control, like the heat, like nutrition. I mean, you can control it, but you don't know how your stomach's going to respond. So just trying to do everything possible to not have any disasters and just try to get through it, but also put yourself in a good position with like 20 miles to go. So I think if you can get the Rucky Chucky and you're still feeling pretty good, you're in a good spot because a lot of people are blown up by that point. I think a lot of people they get really excited when they get to Forest Hill. And then you have that super, downhill section that's really fast, but it's also really hot. Some people blow up there just because they kind of do what I did in Grindstone. They put too much energy, but they're going downhill, so they don't even know it. But they're just bombing those downhills, and all of a sudden they have nothing left. So just trying to be smart with that. It's going to be huge. But main thing is nutrition, heat, like trying to control how hot I am. It's going to be big, and then just trying to keep my mentality even keel, just kind of let things happen. Because things are going to go wrong. Everything is not going to go right. Just try to overcome just little things and manage as well as you can, and then just put yourself in a good position at the end. Every time I run, especially around my house and stuff, like I try to visualize parts of the course that I can. And I mean, obviously, it's like a good situation in my head, overcoming a hard section or trying to finish strong whenever you're like completely exhausted. And fortunately, I do know that feeling. I've only done 300 milers, but I do know the feeling of a 100-mile race. And I think that's going to help a lot. It's a feeling that you can't really describe until you do it. Even like 100Ks don't give you that same exhaustion, like almost survival mode type feeling. And I'm sure if you did something longer, it would be even worse. Knowing how you feel during that and how you can overcome it is going to be crucial, I think. Training wise, just doing a lot of vert. I want to be doing some, double threshold type run workouts and stuff, but mainly just vert, getting the mileage up, trying to get around 100 miles a week if I can. I want to do a training race, the Highball to Thurmond 50 miler. It's in the New River Gorge, one of my favorite places. I'm going to try out a lot of things with like nutrition and cooling during that time to kind of prepare for it. It's 6 weeks out, so I wish it was like maybe 1 or 2 weeks farther out, but it'll be fine. Not too worried about it. And it has a lot of downhill too, which I'm kind of excited about because that's going to be a good prep. We'll see. It'll be fun.
Awesome. Well, I'm rooting for you. I think you're going to run smart and that you're going to be out there punching in the last 20, 25 miles. So that's what I look forward to seeing you do out there swinging away.
Heck yeah.
When you get to those later miles, I'll be rooting for you. I believe David and I will be out there.
Oh, heck yeah. Awesome.
Jeremy, you're going, right?
Oh, man.
Jeremy's racing, man. Like, don't let him pull you. Like, he's getting off that wait list. He's going.
I fully believe that. I just didn't want to jinx anything. A bit superstitious. So, yeah, I look forward to seeing hopefully both of you run out there. And
I'm going to be at that race. I'm going to be there no matter what. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I know Will's going. He'll be out there. He's got important things to do or whatever. So, we'll see him though. We'll have a good time. And you got Charlie crewing, right? I think I texted your dad.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Dad's crewing, mom's crewing, Lindsay's crewing. I got Dan Green pacing.
Sweet.
Ryan Ramsby, he's a good friend. He actually ran Grindstone 100 mile. He's crewing. I got a lot of people from West Virginia who are going just to happen to be in the area during that time. So, I mean, they're not crewing, but they might be, cheering and stuff, which would be pretty cool.
We'll serenade you with "Take Me Home."
Yes, please do. Country roads will always get me home.
We didn't get a chance to talk about it. Caleb is sponsored by Roman Run, who makes some awesome products. What is their website that people can check them out at, Caleb?
Oh, shoot. I mean, I guess if you just Google Roman Run or look them up on Instagram, it's probably the best way. Yeah, they've been awesome. I mean, they definitely helped with getting me to Western States and Javelina as well. I mean, Ryan Ransby and the crew, like they just do such a great job with Roman Run. I'm blessed to be part of the Roman Run elite. Yeah, definitely give them a shout. Give them, look up their stuff. It's all like Appalachian trail running themed, which I love because that's me in a nutshell.
And hey, shout out Roman Run. Marathons are for quitters is one of the
I'm
t-shirts.
actually wearing that shirt right now.
Are you wearing that shirt? I got to get one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Marathons are
Heck
for
yeah.
quitters.
I always wear my I'd rather be running in the woods.
Fun story about that shirt before we go. I turned 30 this year. I wore that shirt on my 30th birthday. I didn't even think anything of it. My grandparents live at a state park. They're part of like the camp. They just work at the state park. And we were supposed to have a little get together at the state park. It's going to be me, Lindsay, and my family. Well, I'm wearing this shirt, and all of a sudden I figure out it's a surprise party. There's like 50 people. I'm wearing this shirt that says I'd rather be out in the woods running instead of being at my surprise party. And I look like a fool because I'm wearing that.
That's amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I get the most comments on that thing. It's awesome.
It's a great shirt.
I need to order my Marathon for Quitters shirt. I think I'll do that tomorrow here now that I thought about it. But yeah, those guys, hey, they're making a great product. They're down there in West Virginia. I fully support them. I believe I met the owner at the Kanawha Trace 25K last summer at the finish line. Did he run the race? Or was he just at the finish line?
He probably did. Yeah, I think he did the 25K.
What's his name?
Ryan Ramsby. He's part of my crew, and he's actually doing Cocodona here in like 2 weeks.
All right, Ryan Ramsby. All right. Yeah, cool company. Check them out. Roman Run. We find them on Instagram at Roman Run. You can find Caleb at, what is your handle on Instagram, Caleb?
Oh gosh, I don't even know. Yeah, maybe just the search Caleb Bowen. You might be able to find it.
It is Coach Bowen, MUXC.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Coach Bowen, Marshall University, home of the Thundering Herd. Caleb, we thank you very much for joining the Hobby Jogger, telling some great stories about Grindstone. I look forward to cheering you on at Western States. I know Jeremy does as well, whether he's running or not, to be determined. We're going to hope that we get 74, Jeremy. We had 74. Is that where you were on the wait list?
I was 73rd is where I was.
My apologies, sir. We look forward to that. I look forward to being out there, seeing you. I look forward to seeing your father again. I need to text him, figure out what 100 we're running.
Sounds good. All right. Well, take care, guys.
Thanks,
you.
man.
Caleb.
See ya.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Hobby Jogger. We hope you've enjoyed our conversation today. And if you liked what you heard, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your support keeps us moving forward. Until next time, keep those feet moving and enjoy the mile.